Welcome to this episode of the Comedy Defect Podcast. My name's Winter Phonander, I'm a comedian, and this is my show. So welcome to the show, guys. This is episode 45. A bit of an announcement before we go on. I'm going to be releasing 50 of these podcasts, and after the 50th one, I'm going to reduce it down to one a month. Because I don't have any minions. I'm doing all the work myself. I'm editing it. I'm going to interview these people. And I've got loads of work in at the moment, and long may it last. So I can't commit to doing a weekly podcast anymore. I would like a minion. Minions sound great, though. But after the 50th one, I've got a great guest on the 50th one. He's a really good friend of mine, a very funny man. So we're going to go out with a bang. It's going to be really a lot of fun. So that is episode 50. But this episode is episode 45. With Mark Rowe. I met Mark at a gig about 3 months ago in Chipping Camden, and he was great. I asked him how long he'd been going. He said under 9 months. I was like, I need to talk to you. What do you do? What's your secret? What are you taking? Who do you know? So I got him on this podcast and I talked to him about stuff and quizzed him. And there's a couple of moments on this pod because Mark is involved with one of the promoters heavily. They are sponsoring his trip to Edinburgh and a documentary called The Long Road to Edinburgh. That's the documentary that he'll talk about, but it gets a bit tense because there's sometimes in this business, sometimes when you burn a bridge, sometimes you don't know you've burnt a bridge, but there's other times when you know, I've definitely not just burned that bridge, but had the torch. When you haven't just burnt it, you've continued to pour petrol and dynamite on the bridge. That's one such instance I talk about in this pod, and it gets a bit tense because Mark's not sure where I'm going with it, but it's all fine in the end, but you should enjoy this one. Mark's a really nice fella, very open. I really enjoyed doing this pod. Now, you can find him on Twitter, you can find him on Facebook, Instagram, all those places. You can also find this podcast on Twitter at The Comedy Defect. You can follow me at Winter Phonander. Now, if you want to support this podcast, you can go to a Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast, and you can donate as little as £1 or as much as you feel this podcast is worth. And those of you that do donate, thank you, because you're paying for the people that can't. And those of you that can't donate, share your favourite episode, tell your friends about it, and maybe consider joining the Comedy Defect Facebook group to see when the next pod is coming up. As I say, after episode 50, they're going to be monthly, and it'll be the last Wednesday of the month. I'm going to be still looking through that Guinness Encyclopedia, taking out as many jokes as I can, and putting them up on Twitter under the title, The Book Dad Read, and the handle for that is at Guinness Jokes. Now, this is a great pod with the very funny, the very likeable, and incredibly new Mr. Mark Rowe. Mark Rowe, welcome to the Comedy Defect. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
And what have you been up to?
Plenty of gigs at the minute. I'm getting ready for my debut Edinburgh experience, so I'm just trying to get as much in as I possibly can at the moment, building up the time, trying to get the show together, and getting all around the country trying to do it.
You've got a Facebook group called The Road to Edinburgh.
The Long Road, A1, The Long Road to Edinburgh. So the idea behind that was at the beginning of this year, so last September, I'd got no experience of stand-up whatsoever.
September last year,
I'd never been on stage doing stand-up.
Wow.
And I had this idea to spend a year trying to learn the craft and learn how to do it. But I needed a deadline. I needed something that was going to make me get out and do it. And I kind of figured the Edinburgh Festival, biggest and best and baddest deadline you could possibly come up with. I determined that I was going to book a show at Edinburgh. I was going to go up there and I was going to do that. So the whole year has been about filming that journey, following that story of starting from nothing and trying to get to Edinburgh for the summer.
That's great, man. I mean, we met at a gig about maybe 2 months ago or so now.
Yeah, in Chipping Camden, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it. It was a really lovely gig. Really lovely gig.
Yeah, really.
And you did great. I was like, you've only been doing this since September. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of jealous. I was like, wow, this guy's great. Yeah, already. No, I mean, like, for me, it's taking a long time, to get where I feel that I'm comfortable and confident on stage. But you're doing great, man. I mean, I saw your stuff and it was really solid, and you just let them come to you. You didn't try and force it.
Yeah, so at that point, that was sort of 4 months in.
Okay.
Just to really rub it in.
You can't help me here, Mark.
Yeah, that was only 4 months. Check me out now.
That's great. No, long way to continue, Mark. Long way to continue. No, that's great though. No, I'm not just blowing smoke about you. You're great. You did great.
It doesn't always feel like that, to be honest. It feels very much like I'm trying to find my feet the whole time. There are good gigs and there are bad gigs, and as everybody has. But I guess when you're trying to do it all on fast forward like this, the good gigs feel really good, and the bad gigs feel really bad, and everything seems a little bit more extreme than if you're perhaps just going along, finding your way, without the pressure of everything else that I've put on my own shoulders, really.
You work as well at the same time, or
Yeah.
have you been... Yeah, what do you do?
So I'm a teacher.
Oh, right.
In real life. In real life, I'm a teacher, yeah. They've just found out, actually, because we're just the other side of the Easter holidays, so we did a little bit of promotion over Easter, so it got into the local papers and radio and all that kind of stuff. So the kids now at school have just found out that I'm doing this comedy stuff. And obviously I'm fighting off questions in the classroom and all that kind of stuff, trying to get on with my actual job. And they're all like, "Sir, tell us a joke." all that kind of stuff. So.
Like heckling you.
They're the best hecklers in the world, as students. Yeah, you've got nothing to fear from a comedy crowd when you've been in a classroom with kids shouting at you. It's fine.
Relentless. Like, I mean, there's so many acts on the circuit as well, and there's loads of teachers, and it gives you... It's like there's a lot of vicars as well. And it gives you such experience when it comes to working a crowd.
Yeah.
And like when people pipe up and you got to put them down, but do nicely and don't crush them, but just...
Yeah, everyone wants to be having fun, don't they?
Yeah.
You don't want you don't want to be... Most people are having fun at one person's expense. You want everyone to be having fun. And I guess that's the same in the classroom. It's interesting you said about, reverends and... it's people who are used to standing up and talking and also reacting to what's going on in the room and responding to what's going on in the room at the time. And I think that's where the parallels are.
And what is it you teach?
Drama.
Oh, nice!
Drama,
oh,
yeah.
so you're cheating. This is it. So I was like, oh, he's great. He's never stepped on a stage in his life. He's got no experience. He's like, he's just doing so great. And you've got all this background in drama and performance. All right, okay, now it's all coming together.
Now here comes the trick. Yeah, so that's true. Yes, I have
Podcast's
been
over, by the way.
See you later. Get out the door. No, I have been on stage, and I'm sort of fairly used to performance and standing up in front of people. But to be honest, the actual idea of stand-up itself terrified me, because as an actor you hide behind a character and you've got all your lines that somebody else has written for you, and in a lot of ways not quite so much as at stake, but when you put yourself out there and you say, right, these are my thoughts, these are my ideas, this is what I think is funny, and I'm going to make you laugh, that's kind of dangerous. And I found that quite scary and quite intimidating. And I've been saying for a long time before doing this project that I will do stand-up comedy and not doing it. And like I said, when I first got into it, I needed something that was going to make me do it, that was going to motivate me to do it. And I kind of figured this was a good way of going about it.
Is it sponsored by the Comedy Cow?
Yeah,
right?
so they've been they've been fantastic,
right,
backing the project all the way through. So Comedy Cow in Milton Keynes, they've got a couple of nights that they run every month in Milton Keynes and have some really good comedians down there. So they've done several things for me. That they've put some money into the Edinburgh show, which is great, which means that the pressure's off a little bit in terms of accommodation and all that kind of stuff. B, they've given me stage time and given me opportunities, and that was partly putting me on their current shows, but they've also put on some nights especially for the documentary and things like that, so that we can... It's really hard when you go and film, when you're doing all these open mics down in London and things like that, you can film your set quite easily, but capturing what the night is like and capturing what the audience's experience of the night is like is quite difficult, actually, to just turn up, set up, capture everything and then disappear again. So we put on some nights specially for the documentary so that we can give that real experience of what it's like being in the audience at one of these nights. But also what they've given me is access to really, really good comedians, really top-end comedians who have been lovely in helping and sitting down and taking their time to talk to me, whether it's on camera or whether it's just having a chat actually off stage, and giving me advice and encouragement and support all the way along the way. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Most people are absolutely lovely, no matter how far up the ladder they are, they're just so down to earth and humble.
Yeah.
Because they've been through the mill, as you're experiencing yourself along the way, I mean, but like drama's like the same thing. It's enough knockbacks and failure and that just to stand you in good stead for any situation of life.
Absolutely, yeah, I think so. Like you say, I mean, everyone has been really lovely and really supportive. They've all got their own kind of stories to tell of when it's been tough and when it's been hard, and they've got advice about how you can avoid some of those situations. There's going to be difficult situations along the way.
Yeah, there are.
For me, making a documentary, if there wasn't, it would be a pretty rubbish documentary, actually.
I'll tell you one situation that I had with... Actually, the promoter of the Comedy Cow, actually. And yeah, so let me tell you this.
Okay.
You know, you go through your comedy career and you try not to burn any bridge. You may burn bridges you don't even know about.
Yeah.
But there are bridges that you are fully aware that you have torched completely. And I think that the bridge that I've burned the most, and I've totally been aware of it, is with myself and Steve Powell, the guy from the Comedy Cow.
Okay.
All right, and this is it. He's a lovely guy, right? I tell you what happened was, you know, that gong show in the casino. Is it still going?
No, they used to do it.
Oh, thank God,
but it's gone.
I'm glad it's gone. It's the worst place to do a gong show. Oh, because people want comedy that are in a casino who are going to be losing loads of money.
Exactly.
The only
They're cheerful.
Yeah. Only people there that goes home happy are the people that work there and the owners of the casino.
Yeah.
But like, so I did that gong show. I did my 3 minutes, which were with grace, and then got gonged off. But the reason was, the situation happened. Steve had just come back from an interview or something like this, right? And I didn't think he was happy about it because he'd just come from Wales, whatever it was. And I had friends of mine I used to work with. This is a while ago. I used to work nights, and I used to work with these guys, and they're all Muslims, right?
Okay.
And they were all on shift work with me, and they're like, "You won't." And they said to me, "We're in Ramadan, but you won't be able to do it." And I was like, "Okay, that's a challenge. I accept that challenge. I'm going to do it with you guys." So I did Ramadan, but I was also gigging at the same time. So I hadn't eaten anything or drunken anything for the entire day until the sun went down.
Yeah.
And so I was like a bit wired, and so I did the gong show, right? Hadn't eaten anything, drunk anything, didn't do well, and then came off, and then Lucy Thompson, great, she went on after me, did great.
Yeah,
and they'd already been whipped up into a frenzy, and they had a bit of blood with me, and they saw that they pissed me off, right? And so and I was like, I didn't take it well at all. It wasn't one of those moments I took it when Grace went, okay, guys, it's your night. I was like, oh fuck you, that kind of thing. And like there was a group of lads that the MC riled up into like baiting, and I was like, oh, and then so I walked off, and then there's a little bit backstage, the left hand side. I think you might have been there, maybe, Mark.
No, I never went to the casino. I never saw these gigs at the casino. Right. I keep hearing about them.
Yeah.
I keep hearing bad stories about them.
I went down to the back corner where Steve was, and then he was like, and after Lucy done her 5 minutes and gone through, he was like, "That's how you do it." And I was like, and I was just so not in the mood to hear that moment of critique, and I was just like, oh. And I looked at him and went, "Thanks, Steve. Thanks. That's great." But on the edge of rage, the mist was there, and I was like, and I was like, oh, I'm burning this bridge now. I'm never going to get another gig from this guy, and that is how it is. I'd love to get Steve on this podcast actually, and to talk about that because I keep emailing him for gigs, and I've emailed him that in the last couple of months and go, "Hey, Steve, look, I'm not doing Ramadan again. Any chance of having a spot? Look, I was hungry. I hadn't drunk anything. You just come back from Wales for an interview. We were in a perfect storm, and then I try to, you try to make it better after. You get like, so are there any spots going in the next few? And you should just walk away.
Just leave. Just back away from the smoke.
And you're so threatening, but you're just trying to make a connection still, but it's not happening. And you just make it worse. And every moment I saw, I think his parents were there as well actually that night, and they were like, I could see the look in their eyes, like, this guy has got a problem. And the problem was I hadn't eaten or drunk anything, but that's my story when it comes to Comedy Cow. So I find it hilarious. Like, I mean, it's just like, I'm sure I've burnt other bridges, but I'm so
that's
aware.
That's the one that you knew as it was happening. You're thinking, this is not going to work. This is never going to happen again.
We're never going to. They might never book me again. They booked me a couple of times before the casino, but after that moment, I've just been getting radio silence. So that's okay. But that's how it is. But hey, look, this is how it goes. No, don't worry. I'm not making you awkward. I'm not coming there. I'm not kind of. No.
Those guys that are helping you.
No. That's my thing. That's my my thing. That's nothing to do with you. That's just my. They're great. I'm glad they're helping you, man. I mean, look, that was fully my fault. I did Ramadan and I hadn't eaten anything or drunken anything, and I did a gig and it didn't go great. And so, so I'm going to be able to control my temper, and but I don't do that now. So I kind of like to eat before I go on. It's a good idea.
Do you know what? I didn't for ages when I first started out. I wouldn't eat. Like I couldn't eat. That's when I noticed that I was actually starting to get the nerves under control and things like that. When I was like, I'm quite hungry. Before going, I could eat something now. I could have something to. Yeah, because for ages I just wouldn't eat at all, and I was getting back from London at sort of 1 a.m. and go, gee, I haven't eaten since I haven't eaten at all. Yeah. Not so much all day though, but
you eat like much later, isn't it? Or you get a celebratory like chicken box and chips, which you could go, God, I think maybe it needs a little bit more salt. Maybe just, again, a little like drizzling of glazed sugar or something.
The lifestyle is not a healthy... The lifestyle of a comedian is not a healthy lifestyle. Because you're hanging out in pubs and bars where you're going to have a pint, maybe 2 pints before your gig. Coming home, eating fast food, on the way, late at night. Yeah, it's not good. Lack of sleep. There has to be something really, really good about it, doesn't there, that makes you go through all that?
There's the archetype of like, this comedian, he's a little bit overweight. He looks funny. You're already losing the fight with your physicality.
Oh, do you know what? It's funny you were saying that, because obviously having a small background in acting and things like that, and you think, oh my God, you have to try and keep fit. I was rubbish at it. I was never fit and in shape and all that kind of stuff, but it's a constant pressure. You think about body image and things like that. And for comedy, I was like, that's all right. It doesn't matter. I can do what I want now.
That's it. I mean, I might just start damaging parts of myself.
Yeah, just for the laugh.
Yeah, just for the hook.
Because it's funny.
Yeah. Okay, the small acting thing. Let's talk about that. What was the thing?
Oh, no, I mean small. Like, as a teenager, I did sort of bit parts in the extra work on things like the bill and a couple of other TV things, a couple of adverts and things like that. Yeah, and then I didn't do anything for ages and ages and ages, and got into teaching and did all that, and it pays the bills, and when you've got kids and a wife and all that kind of stuff, you need a stable job, and acting is anything but stable. But I changed schools, and when I went to interview, actually it's not the one that I ended up going to, but I went to do this interview, and the head teacher there said to me, okay, so we know about your teaching and blah blah, what do you do acting-wise outside of school then? And I thought, I haven't done anything for years. Like, I haven't done anything for years, and I should have done. Why haven't I? And then I started to really question it, and I was like, if this is what I really love doing and I'm really into, why aren't I doing some more of it? And then I started to really think, nobody's just going to come along and knock on your door and go, by the way, do you want to come and be an actor and sack off teaching and not do that anymore? You need to kind of make it happen. I set up my own theatre company called Fortune's Fall. And I was just coming off the back of doing an MA in Shakespeare and Education as well. So I had this idea that we could create a theatre company that would do performances, but would also be able to kind of tour schools and get the kids involved in the performances a little bit, and you've got actors going out and doing... So we started along that route, and then I started to think, actually, theatre and education is a fantastic thing. It's a wonderful thing, but I've seen people doing years and years of working in theatre and education to build up their company, and I thought I could spend the next 10, 15 years building this theatre and education company that brings kids in and gives them a chance to perform, but it's still not really doing what I want to do, which is to be out there performing and doing all of that kind of stuff. So I kind of backed away from it. We ended up we put on a show. There's a company called the Reduced Shakespeare Company who do the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged. 3 actors do all 37 plays in 90 minutes, right? It's just, you can imagine that it's not taking it too seriously. It's pretty fast-paced and comedic. So we did that, and I staged that over 3 nights in the local theatre. And I loved it. It was brilliant getting back into performance. And then, just by chance, I got a chance to be in there was a feature film shot locally, which was it was actually called Fractured Minds. At the time of shooting, it was called 2025. Yeah. And the woman who wrote that, I used to do drama years ago with her daughter, and she asked me to go along and help with a reading of the script that they were filming, just to try and get funding, to try and get backing. And from doing that reading, I actually ended up getting cast in the film, so we made the film. That then meant that I'd met the director of that, the original director of that, because it actually changed midway through, and he and I got together and made a short film last year, and that was really the starting point of the comedy. We made this short film, Eidolon, and it was really doing that, where he had got in touch with me and said, you've got 3 weeks to write the script for this, because then we're going to start shooting it. And I was like, oh man, that's mental. But we did it, and it was that deadline thing that I was talking about earlier of, right, okay, if I've got a really strong deadline, I'm going to do it, and I will get it done. And that's really where the idea for this all...
Deadline thing is like again, Edinburgh, you're terrified. You're filling in a full hour, right?
No, I'm going to do... So my show's going to be 45 minutes, and each night I'm going to do half an hour. Yeah. And we'll have a different 15 minutes from acts that I've met along the way, people that have, helped, inspired, all of that kind of stuff. Because I think that makes a nice... I think to do more than half an hour for me, it's a quality control thing. I think I'm ambitious, but I'm also not stupid, and I think trying to do more than half an hour is just going to not work. Yeah. And I like the story from the documentary of, look, and these are all the people that are, you know, because it's a community, and you get kind of welcomed into that community. And again, another idea behind the documentary was that I kind of figured that the vast majority of people in the UK, I think about stand-up as Live at the Apollo or Mock the Week, and they think there's kind of this pool of maybe 40 or 50 fantastic TV comedians who all have brilliant gigs every night and are all hilarious, and that's kind of it. That's the sum total of what's out there.
The Untouchables kind of thing.
Exactly,
isn't it?
yeah.
That's it.
And there's so many layers below that of people who make a living at comedy, people who do it because they love it, people who are kind of on their route, on their way. And I kind of figured it would be great to show that side of things, and I think to do the show in Edinburgh, as it's called, The Long Road to Edinburgh, to kind of get some of those people back as part of it, I think would be really, really nice.
Yeah, that's great. And where's your room?
So we'll be at Moriartys.
Oh yeah,
downstairs. Downstairs in the cellar bar at Moriartys. Yeah, 7:30 every night, which is a great time slot. I'm really pleased with that. For the type of stuff that I do, I think that just fits with the type of comedy that I'm doing. So I applied to the free festival, and you put your kind of 4 choices of bars and time slots and all that kind of stuff. Didn't get any of them, and was really panicking that, you know, we've put so much into doing this project, and we've told everyone that this is what we're doing, but what if I don't get a venue? How's it going to work if I don't get a venue? I think it was March the 1st, they said you'll hear back by. Literally at kind of 9 o'clock in the morning on March the 1st. I was like, haven't heard anything back, what's going on with it? So I got this email that said, there's some slots still available. We'd love to have, we couldn't give you the slots that you wanted, but there are some slots available. But basically, everyone who hasn't got a slot is getting this email. Anyone who applied late is getting this email, and it's now a free-for-all. Go and fight over the slots. And it was just in my teaching job. I literally got that email 10 minutes before going into a parents' evening. And I was like, I need to do this research, I need to find out where I'm going, but I need to do it quickly. And I had to sit for 3 hours talking to these parents. Just thinking, I don't want to talk to you, go away, because I've got really important shit to do. So I just like, please disappear. And they, like, eventually it was over. I went straight home, got on the computer, and it was like, I got a list of 10, I think, time slots that I thought would work, put them in order of preference, sent them back over, and got the first one, got the one that I really wanted. So I'm delighted with that.
Excellent. That's it. But like with the teachers, I mean, bear with me. Okay. The drama teacher, right? Yeah. Parents come in and go, I'm going to go see the fucking drama teacher now, isn't it? Like, what are they going to say? Oh, he's like, you know, he's too energetic and too charismatic. Yeah. I mean, they don't expect anything massive from you, do they? Really? I mean, or do they?
No. Well, I don't know. Some of them don't even book appointments. They do. No, it's not maths or English. I don't need to talk to you.
That's it, isn't it? It's like, oh, how's his fun going? His fun is going great. You know? And that's it. Is he having a good time? Is he confident? Yeah, he's too confident. That's the problem.
Do you know what? Yeah. For most parents, it's all about confidence. Yeah. And they love it. They love people doing drama. Some of them sort of say, oh, I don't really see the academic value in doing drama. They should be concentrating on subjects that can get them jobs. And I'm like, man, that's so short-sighted. Because actually, interviewers, courses, etc., love seeing drama on there because of the skills that it gives you. So, but being able to communicate, being able to work as part of a team. But I just feel like I'm giving you a pitch for sending your kids into drama now. But anyway,
you've got to throw that, man. Hey, look, what pays the bills, isn't it?
Exactly. And so there are all these things that drama does give them, but the one that parents really cling on is they go, I just wanted them to do it because they're not very confident, and really watching them go through GCSEs in drama and coming out the other end, and they say it makes a massive difference to them. And it's not just in that classroom, they then are able to do it in the other subjects that they do and in life outside, and it's so important.
Exactly. It's like, I wish they had the drama in when I was going to secondary school. Didn't when I was in Ireland. But like with the drama as well, it's like in every office environment, everyone lies. You need to put the character on, the office character. This is who I am at work. I am this kind of shell that I need to just get on with the corporate stuff, and then outside of work, I'm a completely different person. So it's a very so they can be that character. Drama is ideal. They're so confident now, but if you're not confident, hide it. Put this character that is confident, into the world.
Put on a performance.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that's what if we link it back to the comedy, people were saying that at the start. It doesn't matter if you're nervous. It doesn't matter if you're worried about what you're doing. You just hide it. You just cover it up. You just make them believe that you're having the time of your life. And if they do that, then they'll probably have a good time too.
Yeah. And like, you talk about your kids a lot in your act as well.
Yeah, they get a hard time in my act.
How many you got? You got 2 kids?
I've got 3 kids.
Oh, right, wow.
3 kids, so I talk about, basically the premise is that the first 2 were all right, and then the third one came along, and what a nightmare that is. Because he's 2.5 now. He's quite strong-willed, my youngest one. But then he's got 2 older siblings that he's having to compete with, So he's just come in and he's like, right, well, I'm not going to get pushed to the side. I'm going to tell you how it is. Mm-hmm. And he has got every single member of the family. So my oldest is my daughter. And she was very much a daddy's girl, very much all about me and blah, blah, and my wife just had to suck that up and deal with it, right? And then the middle one came along, my oldest son, and he was the complete opposite. He was all about mummy and blah, 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 and so we kind of had one in. But Eli, my youngest one's come along, and he's wrapped all of the other 4 of us all round his little finger. Amazing. And he's got everyone playing off against each other. He's like a little...
kingpin.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Wow.
Such a... Yeah. So obviously I talk about that and talk about him and talk about what he's doing and how he's manipulating everyone.
Yeah. Has the wife ever kind of gone, look, you can't say that, you can't. She vetoed any material.
Yeah. Well, no, except that. So there's this true story. I don't know what I can talk about here. I'm just going to say it
anything
anyway.
You want. Anything.
Okay, so I talk about how when your wife comes home from shopping, it's really annoying when, they go, guess how much you paid for this, guess how much you paid. And so we do all this bit. But she came home one day, just completely out of the blue, and went, guess how much you paid for this? If you get it right, I'll give you a blowjob. And I was like, fucking hell. The pressure of that is because you're really trying to get it right, really trying to work it out. Right, so I've got this whole story, this bit on that I tell.
That's a great bit of misdirection as well. It's like, oh, I don't even care how much it costs anymore. I have already got this carrot in the background. Well, carrot.
So I did this, as I said, Ben at the Comedy Cow, Ben and Steve put on a gig for me in Stony Stratford, which is local to me. And I had a lot of friends and family there because, we'd said, this is your chance now. I've been doing all that. They all knew what I'd been doing. Now's your chance to come along, see it, and we packed the room out. So my wife was there and her dad had come up from Devon to come and see the act. I just started doing that bit in my stand-up about the blowjobs, right?
Brilliant.
And I started this story, but then genuinely, because it was a new bit, forgot where it went off to.
Yeah.
So I never got onto the blowjob. I just started talking about how annoying it is when your wife comes home and says, "Guess how much you pay for this? Guess how much." So I did the first bit of the sort of routine, but never got onto the blowjob bit. But it turns out afterwards she'd been sat in the audience, knowing what's coming, sat next to her dad, going, "Don't fucking say it! Don't say it! Don't say it!"
Great.
And it wasn't. And I got up and did like a little interview bit to the camera for the documentary. My brother's like, "Did you edit that out deliberately? Did you realise what was going on?" I said, "No, I just forgot it, man. I just had no idea."
You were so connected with the wife. She's like, "You better not." She's like, doing the Professor X thing, just blocking your mind out. No, you will not say blowjob. My dad is here.
But I'd assumed that she had said to him, "This is, there's a bit that he does, but, you're not to hear it, blah, blah, blah." So we got really pissed after the show. I went home and went, that bit I wasn't supposed to tell you, it was this. So I told him the joke anyway.
Oh, that's great. But, that's great. I bet he laughed anyway, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's fine, isn't it?
He's great. He's a really good guy, actually. He's massively into stand-up.
Oh, brilliant.
And we've spent a long time over the years kind of talking about... I introduced him to Stuart Lee, and he loves Stuart Lee. And because it's very much his kind of politics and it's very much his kind of attitude. But yeah, loads of Bill Bailey, Rob Gilbert. There's loads of comedians that we have a shared kind of love of. So it's really good. He's been massively supportive and not that he would ever say it, because I came on, he was like, "You were shit." Because there was a bar next to it. There was a bouncer on it. The bouncer at the bar came over to me at the end and was like, "That guy, your father-in-law, he said you were a 9 out of 10, but he said not to tell you." And I was like, "Man, that's awesome. Nice. That's awesome." Yeah, I'm really pleased with that.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's it. It's not often that you're the father-in-law kind of encourages the son-in-law and all. It's like, "Oh yeah, he's not funny." They always come round, just even if you're putting a shelf, shelf, that's a shit shelf, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll fix it for you.
he wasn't going to say anything complimentary to me. Yeah, no, I'm not getting it.
No, he can't. He's got to remain the dad, isn't he? The alpha of in his mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he can't give up that power. But it's the has he tried to kind of help you with any jokes? Has he tried? He must have tried, has he?
No. I don't think he would. He is quite funny. The best bit that I had that was getting comedy out because that was the second time he'd seen me. The first time he came to see me, because his name's Dick. I'd made some joke.
It's too easy, isn't it? It's too easy.
Yeah.
It's like,
so I'd made some joke about how I talk about my wife, and I should say I'm happily married because her dad's here.
Yeah.
And I said, no, he is. My father-in-law genuinely is here. Everybody say, hello, Dick. Yeah. And they all went, hello, Dick. And I went, his name's Steve. And all I could see was him just sat in the audience going,
Great. Is that your wife's mum still around as well, or?
She doesn't come up this way up to Devon. She's not been very well, so she doesn't get out and about so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And about your mum and dad, do they come see you?
They haven't come to see. No, they haven't. They're coming to Edinburgh though.
Oh, that's even more pressure, right?
So I think that I might ask them not to tell me when they're coming, and just I don't know if that would be
disguises.
Just see them. But I was a bit
fake nose and glasses.
Yeah.
I don't know who these people are. You know, they're sitting quite close. They seem to be very encouraging, but you know, that's it. It's funny.
I showed them the video of that night though.
Yeah.
And so they've seen, you know, the bulk of my material. I was a little bit worried. There's a few things that are a little bit, I had quite a straight-laced upbringing and very Christian parents, right. and my dad was a magistrate and things like that. And there's a few bits in my comedy about how I've maybe pushed the boundaries a little bit. And I was a little bit worried about some of the things I was talking about. No, they were very supportive and they found it funny, so that was good.
And when you wanted to do drama, how did that go down? Did that go down like a lead balloon?
Oh no, they were very. I mean, it's been since a very early age.
Oh, okay.
I was literally. They're quite into the theatre as well. They're massively into the theatre. So my love of theatre comes very much from them taking me when I was a kid. And they took me to the West End when I was sort of 6 years old, and I came out of the theatre. And can still remember coming out of the theatre and going, that's what I want to do. Wow. And I know that kids kind of do that and they go through, but it just stuck and it just stayed, and it was something that I pursued. And my mum had said to me, you know, there was all sorts of things like I played football for a bit, I learned to play the violin for a bit. There was things that I picked up and dropped and tried out like kids do. They have a go at different things. Martial arts for just little things.
What martial arts?
Aikido.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Aikido. Yeah.
It's all like the sticks as well.
Way off on a tangent. Yeah, there's two types of Aikido. Apparently, there's like a traditional sport of Aikido and then a sports type. So the club that we went to was like a traditional run club, but they ran events where you got sent away for the weekend to go and do Aikido and a bigger deal. So I went on one of these weekends. And I was the only kid that went to like the traditional club.
Oh no!
And they were all doing this completely different. It's a completely different brand of martial arts. And they were like, so I've got my belt. I've worked my way up to whatever it was, blue belt by then or whatever. And they're like, yeah, just do this. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've got no idea what you're talking about. I've got no idea. Yeah. And just spent the whole weekend like some dickhead who didn't have a clue what he was doing, but had just got a belt. And put it on and gone, I can do this, because that's what it looked like. But then there was one session on the brand of Aikido that I did, and all these kids were like, what? And I'm chucking them around.
Great.
It's great. Got my revenge.
Yeah, that's it, finally. Drops belt, walks off.
Yeah, nice. Exactly.
Yeah. What's your mum do? What was your mum into?
She was a teacher. Oh. So I followed in her footsteps, but she taught primary, and
that's easy.
I tell you what, she really got into. Yeah. Oh, it's only primary. Screw them. Do you know what? I couldn't do it because when you become a teacher, when you become like a secondary teacher, and you do your training, you have to spend a week working in a primary school. The idea is you need to know where they've come from and what they're doing, all that kind of stuff. And I hate it. Like I couldn't do it. There's no way I could work in a primary school. It's just horrendous. These kids follow you and you're around all day long, asking the most inane questions, like telling you stuff, and you go, "Why are you why are you telling me this?" Yeah. My pencil's got a rubber on the end of it. Okay, good. Go and do what you were doing. I'm not interested.
That's it. Just running interference every second. Like, oh God, just trying to do this thing here. Yeah, wow. And with the stamps, you got the little spider stamp and
exactly. Gold stars everywhere.
That's it. It's just really, it's like just hobby crafts, isn't it? It's like, how many star? Oh, I got a star. Oh, well done. Oh, that's it.
They love that stuff. Yeah. They love it.
crushing children's dreams with stars. Oh, but I got a silver star. How come they got a gold star? Okay, it's a platinum star. Maybe we didn't. I don't know what platinum was back then, but that's it. It's crazy.
I think it's just more like, well, because I like them better than you.
Yeah, that's
it.
You
know, that's why you didn't get the star. Yeah. Try and be a bit more likeable, and then next time you'll do better.
First bit of judgment with the spider. Like the spiders crawled all over the page. Oh, do they have that stamp anymore? I don't know if they do.
What's that?
The subtle. You've really done shit at this word.
Your handwriting's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. The spider stamp. And
okay,
with a spider with a sad face on it. You never had that?
No.
Maybe it was just for me, that one.
Broke it. You got damaged as a child.
From failure. It was like, stamp. I don't know why they put it on my forehead. It was really weird. It's like, just held me down.
Weird tattoo.
That's it. Let's go back to your brief career in acting.
Okay.
So, the bill. What were you in the bill?
Oh, it was literally an extra, right? But I was really pleased with it. I was delighted with it because... the story was that we were in this snooker hall and I was 15 years old and we bunked off school right, to play snooker, and then the detectives had come bursting into the snooker hall and they wanted information from the snooker hall boss, and they basically said, the guy said, I don't know what you're talking about, and the policeman turns around and goes, all right, and I suppose you don't know why these lads are in here who shouldn't be here and blah blah, and if you don't, then I'm going to... Basically, we became part of the story because he was going to report the guy, so he gets the information that he wants because we're in his... So I was, at 15, I was like delighted that, I'm not just in it, I'm not just one of the other extras. I'm an important extra who's part of... What a wanker, right?
I'm a feature.
But they treated us a bit like that as well. So the guy playing, it was I don't know the actor's now, I can't remember the actor's name, but DCI Skase.
Right.
And I used to watch the bill. My dad used to watch the bill a lot, so I was delighted to be in the bill. So he was like... And the other extras were being a bit noisy on set, and I remember being stood next to him turning around and going, "Shut up, you cunts!" like this, and then being like, "We're all right." And him and I playing a game of snooker between shooting because we were in the snooker hall, and me beating him at snooker between shooting and just being like, "That's it, I've made it now."
Yeah,
how wrong I was.
What was the first role?
So the first professional job I got was to do an advert for Dr. Pepper.
Oh yeah, nice.
And it was because again, it wasn't long before the bill, so I was about, I can't remember if I was 14 or 15. I think I was 15 years old, just turned 15, and I went along to this audition. And what had happened? I'd been, again, long convoluted story. The agent that I had. We went to a local part-time theatre school, and they basically took all the kids from the theatre school onto their agency and said, "We'll put you all forward for work, great." But they didn't. To be honest, they didn't put us forward for very much, except that one day somebody had dropped out of going to an audition, and they needed a 15-year-old lad, but at like 2 hours' notice to go into London and do it. So I got this phone call saying, "Can you do it?" And I got pulled out of school. I thought it was great. Got pulled out of school. Taken down to London to go and do this audition, didn't get the job, but the agency obviously thought, all right, well, give him his due. He helped us out of a tight spot. Somebody's dropped out. We'll give him a second audition. And the second audition I got was this one for Dr. Pepper. So I walked into the room, 15-year-old little skinny white kid. It was full of like 20 plus black blokes, all 6'3", all sorts of stuff. And me and one other white kid, and I'm like, so why am I here? Like, what? Why am I here? Like, this is not the casting for me, surely. Yeah. And I remember them going, right, okay, because castings for commercials are weird. Like, they're just weird. Sometimes they ask you to stand on the spot, look at the camera, smile, and then they go, "Thanks very much, see you later." Yeah. Sometimes they have weird stuff for you to act out, and they want you to do it at no notice, and then they say, "Can you do it with a bit more?" Yeah. And you go, okay. So this was. Can you imagine you're being chopped up with a chainsaw? I was like,
okay,
yeah. Do it with a bit more humour. What the fuck?
Wow.
But whatever it was, that wasn't even the advert. When I think back to the advert, we weren't being chopped up with chainsaws at all. So why they had us doing that, I don't know.
It's a bit funny. After lunch, off you go. This guy, we're gonna mess up with this guy. This is gonna be so much fun. We've already chosen the guy, but we're gonna run out the clock. That's it. That's funny.
So I walked out that guy, and there's absolutely no chance of having got that job, but I got it. And then so from there. I think the agents were like, okay, he's obviously going to make us a little bit of money. So I got sent on. I was probably doing at the best bit. I was going down to London 2 or 3 times a week, going on auditions, and I picked up a couple of bits. And
okay, what was the fee for the Dr Pepper, if you don't mind me asking? This is like back in the day, and it was big money.
It was. I got so much stick over this from my mates.
Why so?
Because I tell you what, it was after the agent had taken their bit, and they get taxed on it and all that kind of stuff. I think I got 860 quid, something like that, for a day's work, right? And I was like, this is brilliant.
Exactly.
So I bought a guitar that I couldn't play. I bought like so much shit that was just ridiculous. Yeah. I think there was this massive like polystyrene aeroplane that was supposed to fly 300 feet. Because I was just like, I'll buy whatever.
This is never going to win.
Yeah, exactly. I've made it. Look, I'm going to buy luxury items.
I'm going to buy myself some new friends.
Yeah, exactly. So in about 3 months, just spent this money on shit that I didn't need, and then obviously there was nothing more. There was no more. It never came back. There was no more after that.
Yeah. And you know that Pepsi ad? I did one of the auditions for it. That Pepsi ad when there's these guys doing kung fu, and these other people are dressed in black, and they're moving them around the scene. Yeah, and they're like pretending to like jump and fly through the air and all this, and people are just lifting them up and doing all this stuff, right?
Okay.
And things are being thrown, and someone's dressed in black is moving it, and you can see this whole thing go off. But right now, I'd never done any acting, right, ever, and I did Shotokan karate. That's what the martial arts that I did,
okay.
Right? And I got to my first stand, and I do train occasionally, but it was like the thing was with this thing, it's like right, okay, so you go up, and as you say, you look around you at these auditions and go, these guys are more likely going to get it than I am. I am like nowhere near as qualified as but at the time there was only 3 or 4 people there in the casting room, and everyone else was outside and all talking like, oh yeah, you did. And one guy had like a samurai like corded jacket. I don't know what he was carrying. Maybe it was a really big pen because he wasn't carrying that around London. And like he was in there, right? And I was like, they're all talking, yeah, I've done like 4 years in kung fu and all this. I'm like, okay, I'm just with traditional Shotokan here, guys. Okay, so karate, yeah, great. Yeah. And so I think I went up second, thank God. Right, the first guy went up. I need to just try and be better than that. That's fine. And so I went up and did my thing, and it was terrible. And like then they. Like I've got no idea of any sort of like acting focus. Okay, this is the thing you're supposed to be looking at. This is the Pepsi's cans there, and you have to do like a thing. It was like and it's something like drop the can, evil one, or something like this. Something really cheesy, right?
Yeah.
And looking back, I must have been totally cross-eyed for this close-up that they're doing, because I was trying to focus, and I've got nothing to focus on. I was just imaginary. The focus, I've got to just keep the eyes there. But I was like, totally cross-eyed for the whole thing. And anyway, I looking back, I see that now. But like the guy who went on third, and he said, "Do you mind if I take off my t-shirt?" And the guy was built like the Incredible Hulk, Every sinew was just like, he breathed, it flexed, and I was like, oh, okay, right, why did we have to, why couldn't you just put him on first, and then, so we watched him do his thing, and he was doing like the horizontal spins, that kind of thing you see in like Kung Fu guys do, and then he did the one-handed, handstand when he kicks right up in the air, all this gymnastic. This is his credentials: 5 years of gymnastics, 10 years of kung fu. I'm also a samurai and a ninja.
And a ninja in my spare time.
That is exactly it. And so he did that, and so they were like, you can see the director go, walked up to him, shook his hand, and goes, "We will call you," and it was just like, okay, we'll just get my coat. And it was one of those things. I got on the tube, and I was living in Wolverhampton at the time. And I got on the tube, and I was like, "Oh fuck, there they are." You don't want to see these people you've auditioned with, and you're like, "Oh, I don't want them to look at me. I don't want to be anywhere near," because they've seen how badly I've done, and I've seen how amazing they've done. But I saw this same guy who got that audition, who was actually in that advert for Pepsi. He was also on the BBC. I don't know if you've seen the one when they're doing their skateboards. A couple of guys skateboarding, and they
and do that, flip over.
Backflip over a table. That the guy in the middle, the shaved head guy, that's him.
That's him. And
I was like, holy shit, he was incredible. I was like, so embarrassing.
Get some the worst audition I had. Right, it wasn't for TV or anything like that. It was for going to university. And, maybe this is the beginnings of me being still in an audience and just being in front of an audience and being a dickhead and thinking that that's funny, right? Because we had to do all these group auditions. I'd learnt my monologue that I had to do, and
what was
I
it?
think there was a couple.
What was your monologue?
Do you know what? I genuinely can't remember. It was about a guy whose wife was dying. Anyway,
Yeah.
So I did.
Did you cry? Did you force the cry?
No. No. I don't. Looking back, it must have been. But it was all right. I think it had gone all right, and I had to do that and a Shakespeare. I think I did the Macbeth monologue from, when he's just realised what he's done. He just walked out having murdered these, and he realises what he's done, and it had gone okay. And the woman said to me, and I said, "So, Mr. Ray, that was very interesting. Let me ask you a few questions. Do you play any musical instruments?" And I didn't. I was rubbish. And I thought, I can't just say no, because this is going on. So, having an audience there, I went, "Yeah, I'm shit hot on the recorder."
Whoa, confidence. That's confidence. Shit hot as well. Amazing.
But I just, it got a laugh, and everyone sort of go for it.
Yeah.
And I watched her draw a cross next to my name. And I was just like, and this was the uni I really wanted to go to as well. It was Bretton Hall up near Sheffield. And I'd spent ages desperate to get on this course, and it just came out of my mouth, thinking, "You smart ass."
Pumped from the audition.
Yeah,
right?
it's going really well.
Yeah.
So, look, the crowd, they think it's really funny. Hey! Watch this woman. I was just shit.
That's it. Classic clown syndrome.
Yeah.
That's it. No,
Yeah,
I'll do anything for a laugh. That moment, we're in the moment. This is gonna. I don't care what happens after this, but I'm gonna get a laugh at this moment. That's it. That's funny auditions. How many auditions had you done? Do you even know?
For unis
for unis?
Yeah, it was probably third or fourth out of. I went up to Edinburgh. I went up to Edinburgh for an audition, but it was a proper classic. 18 years old, away from home for sort of the first time. Went up there on my own. My parents had paid for the flights and all that kind of stuff, which was lovely. And I was staying in a hotel the night before, because the audition was at 9 o'clock in the morning, so there was obviously no chance of getting up there on the day from Milton Keynes. So I stayed in this hotel the night before. Didn't really know anyone, didn't know where to go, so I did a real kind of cliched sit at the bar and tell the barman your life story. Right, but at 18 was not very much.
With a cigar.
Yeah. But drinking pints, and then going, I'm bored of pints, so getting onto the Jack Daniels the night before a massive audition that's really, really important for your future, and I was just shit-faced. And I went upstairs. I probably haven't told my parents this after they paid for me to go up there. So. You know what Edinburgh's like. It's really hilly. Right, so the hotel was at the bottom, the university was at the top of the hill.
No.
Had to do this 15-minute walk with the worst hangover in the world uphill. Got there, and then they sat us. It was awful. They sat us in a room for 5 hours waiting to go in an audition. 5 hours waiting to go. I went outside for a cigarette, and one of the people who ran the course came out and was like, "You're going to have to give up smoking if you come here."
Oh, whoa!
And I was kind of like, "I'm not sure that."
And drinking, or you know, the cigarette.
I don't think you quite understand
why I'm coming to uni.
What I'm doing here. Yeah, and they were sort of, your body is a temple, kind of.
This is Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah. I want deep fried cigarettes, that kind of thing. So after 5 hours of sitting in this room, I went in to do the audition, and it was, as far as I can remember, the only time ever that I've been performing where I've completely dried up, like completely forgotten forgotten everything, not been able to think about the light. And I had to say to them, and I hate this, and it drives me nuts, because I had to say, "Can I go back and start again?" Blah, blah, and I did, and I got through it. But I just walked out knowing full well I've blown this. There's no chance. And then my flight wasn't until like 10 o'clock at night, so I had to sit around like waiting, just dwelling on the fact that I'd absolutely ruined any chance I had of going to either of the two universities by now that were going to be the ones for me.
So you ended up going to which one?
Oh, so I went to. In fact, I was talking about this to the kids that I teach today. I went to Manchester Met University, but I went through clearing. I was talking to them about how like little decisions that you make or little things that you do can have a massive impact later on down the line. So yeah, it was kind of like, well, I've messed up my auditions. I'm not going to go to drama school this year. Probably will wait until next year. And then literally the day after my A-level results, which again was a massive drunken session that lasted a number of hours. And I woke up the day after my A-level results at 7 a.m. with my dad coming into my room and just going, "So, you haven't got a place at uni, going to get a job?" And I was shit. It was the best thing he ever could have done for me, because I was like, okay, yeah, I might have a look at the clearing places and see what's out there. And he went, okay, well, one or the other, do something. You know, and it was just really clear what you're not going to do is spend time in my house without a job, without some kind of direction, with nothing to do.
Yeah.
So I went and I looked for courses and found one. Me and a friend of mine were writing a sketch show. And I found this course through clearing at Manchester Met that was drama and creative writing as a joint honours degree. And
Great.
I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I should be doing. So I did. I went off and did that. But I rang up the university and I said, they said, "Why do you want to come here?" Oh, because I picked it off a list, right? You can't say that. So I went, "Oh, well, you know, I live in Milton Keynes at the moment. You know, I'd love to come up to Manchester, big city, thriving, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it'd be fantastic." And the woman went, "I do need to let you know, sir, that actually we're in Alsager, the Alsager campus, which is about 30 miles outside of Manchester, nearer to Crewe. So, you know, that's not..." And I went, "No, that's right. I come from a small town, Newport Pagnell, just outside Milton Keynes. I'll be fine." It was just like, I'm going to tell you whatever you want. I need some... Because my dad's going to make me get a job. The truth was, because my dad's going to make me get a job if I don't come here. So please, can I come? I went there and I met my wife at university. So, you know, all these little... This is what I was saying to the kid. All these little knock-on things then have an impact that can change your future.
Yeah. And so what did your wife do in college?
So she did drama and creative writing.
Oh, right.
But she is also a drama teacher now.
Okay.
But she wasn't there in the first year, so she moved up to Manchester because her boyfriend at the time got a job in Manchester. She was at uni down in Devon, and she moved up to be with him. And I kind of nicked her off her boyfriend. Oh yeah. So that's what happened. Yeah, we ended up getting together off the back of that. So that was great.
Both drama teachers, right?
Yeah.
So that must be really difficult when it comes to kind of going, "Okay, Darren, well, I've got this script, okay, I'm just going to..." Do you ever show your script to your wife, or do you just not go through that serious pain of
with the stuff that I'm trying to do?
That you write, do you kind of go, "Okay, well, what do you think of this?" Or...
Okay, so she would very clearly say that she is a teacher.
Sure.
Right, and I would very much say I'm a performer.
Yeah.
And she's not interested in performing herself or things like that. She wants to be in the classroom and she loves that. But she obviously knows what she's doing in terms of performance. So I will say, what usually happens is I'll try out some material and she'll sort of look at me like this. And then I'll go, "That's fucking funny. What are you doing? That's funny." Just try and convince her that it's funny.
Well, I know that I totally get, because I'm asking you because I just started running night, right, just in Hemel, and it's a really lovely little gig. It's only 30 odd people there, right? But the first night, my wife was there and I was emceeing. And it was so difficult. Because, I've been doing this a while. I know I'm a great MC, but when my wife was there, I married this guy. Yeah. This is all this pressure. You're putting your life into that. I'm like, yeah, I know, look, you're there. I'm great when you're not here, but I'm so self-aware of what I'm saying and not saying the wrong. Yeah, and you're there that it's just it's worse. I don't care who else is in the audience, but it's because you're in the audience. It's making me so tense and worried. Exactly. You know, and so taking material to them is like that, isn't it? You go, "Hi, what do you think of this?" Yeah, and you say, "It's fucking funny," and you stamp off.
You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know me.
She's come twice to gig, and both times they've gone really well. Yeah, so I hadn't even really thought. God, man, yeah. Because the thing is, as well, like there's quite a lot at stake for me because I'm doing this so much on fast forward, as I said before. She's had to massively pick up the slack. She's had to massively deal with looking after the kids and me being away all the time and all that kind of stuff. Which I guess is the experience for loads of comedians, but it's just felt like it's not that we've built up into that. I just threw her into it. Yeah. And actually, when I first thought of doing this, I thought about it in August. The festival was obviously on at the time. I'd probably read something about the festival. Something had triggered it in my head. And I said to her, "Look, I've got this idea that I want to do. What I'm going to do is I'll spend some time thinking about it. Next year, so 2017, I'm going to go up there and film a little bit of the festival and see what it's like. Then I'm going to spend a year learning it, and in 2018 I'll do the festival. I'll do it." And she went, "No, you won't." She was like, "No, you won't. if you're going to do this and you're serious about it, you need to start now and just do it. Because either you'll overplan it and it will be shit, or you won't do it at all because you'll find reasons why you shouldn't do it and you'll talk yourself out of it. If you're going to do it, have my blessing, go and do it and get on with it. And I was like, that's fantastic. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing. So we jumped on a plane, me and my brother and a friend of mine. Like 7 days later, we were on a plane going up to Edinburgh. We spent 24 hours running around, filming comedians, meeting people, kind of trying to get a first 5 minutes of the documentary, kind of going, this is what Edinburgh is, this is where I want to be a year from now. And then we were off from there.
That's great, man. That's great. So, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying my wife isn't supportive, but my wife is supportive. This isn't a competition.
But no, my wife is really supportive. She's really.
I think she's there. She's about to give me a cup of tea right now. And biscuits. No, I get it every hour on the hour. No. Every about couple of years I'll bring her to a gig, but they're the most tense gigs. Because you're like, all right, you know.
It's got to go well.
Yeah, and she's unbelievably critical, which is great and terrifying at the same time, which is what you need, really, isn't it? Do you actually ask for the feedback after the gig?
I haven't. Do you know what? It's not so much her. So she's just been really lovely and really supportive. The only feedback that I got from her was I love the way you really got like don't take the blowjob joke in front of my dad.
Right.
But I take my brother and Ben from the Comedy Cow to a lot of gigs, and they really are like no holds barred. Right. They'll be like, I don't think you should be doing that joke. If you do, why are you doing that? It's not, you know. And they've been really, really heavily critical, but you know, constructively critical about everything that I've been doing, and that has really kept me on track.
Right.
And obviously as well, because we're filming so much, I mean, I don't film every gig because you can't film the same 10-minute set or 15, you know, every time, but filming so much has been really useful because I'm watching it back over and over again, constantly kind of trying to work out little bits and pieces. There's a guy called Oliver Double who used to be a comedian in the 90s and now lectures in Kent University in Canterbury. He did an interview for us. It was really fascinating. When I first had the idea, when I first had the idea to do stand-up, working in my previous school, and I talked to a guy about it who was kind of my boss at the time, really supportive guy, and he just, the moment I mentioned stand-up, he got up and he walked to his bookshelf and got these 2 books down and just came and handed them to me and went, they're for you. Right? And they were both these books by Oliver Double, who had been a comedian, was now a lecturer, but wrote a lot about the topic. So when I first thought of doing this project, because I'd read these books a number of times over the years, like dipped into them and all that kind of stuff, I got in touch with him and said, I'm doing this project, you're at fault for me doing this project because of these books that have kind of inspired me along the way. Would you give us some time to talk on camera and all that kind of thing? And he did. He came back and he was like, yeah, it sounds fascinating, I'll definitely do that. So I went and met him in October when I was just starting out. He was great. I spent ages on the way down kind of working out what questions I wanted to ask him. I had about 10 questions that I wanted to talk to him about. Everything that he said, he would talk for 2-3 minutes at a time, and every time he did, just by pure chance, he naturally led on to the next question that I had planned that I wanted to ask him, and the whole thing was just fascinating. It was just absolutely brilliant. And he said that because of the way we're going about it, because of the way we're filming everything and bringing people to all the gigs, he said you're so much more likely to make progress quicker. Because when you're, and he's right, when you're up there on the stage, you have a skewed idea of how it's going. Sometimes that can be that you think it's not going as well as it actually is. Sometimes that can be that you think it's great and it's not. So having those people who are there to give me honest feedback a lot of the time has been massively helpful for making progress and being able to improve. Yeah. Because you're not just coming away going, oh yeah, what was it? Because you know, it's like, it's a bit of a blur sometimes. When you've been on stage, you're in that moment, and then you come off stage, and it's all a bit of a blur, whether it's been bad or good. So having somebody to say, yeah, this worked, this didn't work, try this, why not do that? They really liked it when you did this. It's been great.
Exactly, it's great. You just need another couple of pairs of eyes, and it really does help an awful lot. Even just listening back to audio recordings, you go, oh, what worked there? What was my voice? Oh, a little bit desperate there, that one. Okay, need to just reel it back a little bit. How did I start too desperate again? Need to just move it, just allow them to come to me. Yeah. Just don't run to them. They will get on board eventually. Depends on how long I've got, of course.
Yeah.
But if I've got over 10 minutes or more, well, then they can come to me.
Yeah.
But, 5 minutes, blah, 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 bang, 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 trying to get them on board as quickly as possible. Because by the time you get up there and say, no, you're off.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have time to really...
It's great you've got mentors and stuff, that's brilliant, man. I mean, and have you had Oliver Double on again, or have you...
No, so I'd like to probably go back and check in with him. I'd like him to see me perform and to give some feedback on that and talk about what he thought of that.
Yeah.
That would be great as part of the documentary. I don't know what his plans are, if he's going up to Edinburgh or anything like that.
That'd be good to get him to
come along to the show and talk. But we met, meeting people on the way as well. We talked about the people that have been helpful. I had some great interviews with people along the way. So we were able to sit and chat to James Acaster. He was, I think, to be honest, he was a little bit sceptical at first of this guy who says, I'm gonna go to Edinburgh, it'll be fine. And I understood that. I was quite worried actually when I first thought about this, that comedians would think, what an idiot, like, you haven't got a clue, mate. How, and actually be maybe quite insulted that somebody thinks it's all right to do this in such a short amount of time and that it's just easy. And I didn't think it was easy at all. I just was very aware that making a documentary about somebody doing things the usual way perhaps wouldn't have been as interesting, as exciting as somebody who's got something at stake going, I'm going to do this in a really short time. But he was great, really, really, really friendly, really, really helpful. Dane Baptiste was another one who was really helpful and really lovely. Ollie Double, as I say. I've got interviews lined up to meet Stu Goldsmith, who I kind of figured, I can't talk to all the comedians in the world. Why don't I talk to the guy that's talked to all the comedians? So I'm going to go and talk to him and do an interview with him.
You're like the condensed version of advice.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you? Look, you've talked to so many people now. What would you do?
Tell
in this
me what
situation?
they say. Yeah, would be good. And how do you condense all that down?
Gives you an audio clip that said, "This is what you need." Play this again and again.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all I'm here.
There's a lady called Ellie Gibson as well, who's now on Go 8-Bit with Dara O'Brien. Right. But she did an article for The Guardian about doing 100 gigs. I think it was 100 in a year. But I kind of thought, that idea of doing everything on fast forward, I need to talk to her because she's been there and done it and been through that experience. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
That'd be great. You've got some really heavy hitters on for your interviews, though, which is great. It'll give you more of a hook.
Hopefully. Also talking to people who... So we made when I started out, I did a course at the comedy school in Camden. We did some interviews with the other comedians who were on that course and the other people who were just starting out, and have kind of kept tabs a little bit on what they're doing as well. When we did that gig in Stony Stratford that we put on specially, we invited a load of them to come. So that was 6 months into the process. So we invited them to come and do spots on that show as well, to kind of check in with them really and see who. And some of them had done loads and were really into, really into performing. Some of them had done like maybe 2-3 gigs in between and were.
It's like, but at the same time, there'll be harrowing stories. Like, there always is though. It's like you're going to see some people, and some people might just never do another gig.
There was an Australian girl, Jen, who was on the course, who was literally there because she was new to the country and she wanted a way to meet people, and she thought this was a really nice way to get out and meet people. There was another guy who never even finished the course, who was there because he had to do a best man speech, and he was terrified about doing this best man speech, and he wanted some experience doing comedy. And I guess what happened was, it was a 6-week course. He kind of got what he needed from it, and went, I'm not going back. Yeah. I don't need to go and do the showcase. I'm not interested in that. I've got what I need out of this, and I'm moving on. And then there were a few of us who sort of went, I want to perform as much as I can. Get me up there, yeah.
Totally bitten now, that's it.
Yeah,
I'm on
absolutely.
It. That's it, absorbing everything.
I think you have to, if you're going to do it, you have to kind of throw yourself in. I don't think stand-up would work, or I don't think you would make any progress doing, a couple of gigs a month. You're not going to get anywhere. I think you have to be constantly on it. You have to throw yourself in at the deep end to make that progress. So if you're doing 2 a month and you have a bad gig, and then you've got 2 weeks to sit and dwell on it, you have to just get back on, don't you? If one doesn't go well, you just have to know, it's all right because I'm doing another one tomorrow night or the next night, and then everything will be okay. Yeah. And I think also, and this may sound like the new guy doesn't know what he's talking about at all. Sometimes you have to just let it go, and you can dwell on it as much as you like and go, what worked, what didn't work there, why didn't this work? Sometimes you have to just go, didn't work, like that night wasn't going to happen, it's not my night, it didn't happen. because I've looked back at sets that didn't go down as well as I'd hoped they would, and had gone down better before, and I really couldn't see too much difference in what I was doing. And I just had to kind of go, okay.
Yeah, that's it. It's not
Let it
your
go.
night. It's just not your night. That's how it goes. Because everyone thinks it's going to be gold every single night.
Yeah.
It might be the same set, same delivery, different crowd, not into it.
Yeah.
Different MC, different energy. Something might have happened in the day. You know, there's so many different factors involved. But okay, give me an example of the worst show, like the one of the gigs. Something horrendous has happened at a gig.
It wasn't so much something about it was just the fact that it was this open mic. As with a lot of open mics, it's just the other comedians. Really, there's no genuine audience there. It's just the other comedians. But also in this particular bar, the aircon was broken, so it was freezing cold in the room. Cold in all senses of the word. Right? I was on in the second half, and at the break, all of the acts that had been on were like, "Fuck this! I'm going. I'm not staying around for this." So you were left with half a dozen acts who all had sat through this not great first half of it all being, cold and miserable and everybody being a bit deflated. Mm-hmm. Then kind of going, all right, well, all we've got left is each other to make that. And I don't think I've ever talked for so long without any reaction back. And what I should have done, I was still too new to it, what I should have done was used it as an opportunity to talk to the crowd. Because the only thing that I did do was I came on and I was like, well, thanks for inviting me on the world's shittest stag do. Do you know what I mean? And just talking to them about the situation seemed to. But then I ploughed into my material. They didn't give a shit what my material was. They were thinking about their material or thinking about how they didn't want to be there.
Exactly.
But if I'd maybe tried to learn a little bit about playing with the audience or interacting with the audience, because that's the next stage for me, is being comfortable going off script because I'm so new to it. Because I've got this 15-minute set that I can do. If things aren't really working, I haven't got another direction that I can take. I haven't got I'll just rely on that bit I was doing 2 years ago that this particular audience might like. Yeah. I haven't got that in my locker, so it's kind of like strap in, do your material. If it's not working, suck it up and get through it. Yeah. Fortunately, there haven't been too many dying off. There's been better and worse nights and things like that. There hasn't been too many disasters.
That's good. Biggest high and biggest low in the last year, under a year, 8 months then. Well, the low was that. The low was that night. That's the only time. Right. That's the only time that I've left it. I rang my wife on the way back, and I said, "I'm sorry, I'm putting you through this." It's like I'm spending all this money going to London, blah blah. I'm not really sure why. Just in that moment, I was like, anyway. And she said, "Don't be ridiculous. You need to do another gig, and you'll be fine." And that's exactly what happened. Highs. There's been a few. A couple of weeks ago, I won Comedy Gladiators in Bristol. Great.
And that was nice because there's been some comedians on the bill there that had been going, quite a bit longer than I had, and it was a big crowd. It was 250 people in the audience. Great. So I'm told, and it was an audience vote thing. So to have won that was really nice actually. Just to get that kind of affirmation. All right, you're accepted alongside these people who have been doing it a long time. We liked what you were doing, and it just worked. And obviously, that's a nice feeling.
Right, bit of validation, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and obviously the one that terrified me was this one that I keep talking about locally, where I had. I mean, You can look at it two ways. It's easy to do well if you've brought 40 members of the audience along yourself, right? And it can be a good gig that goes well. But equally, some of the people that were at that gig wouldn't have hesitated to tell me if they thought it was a load of shit. Yeah. So I was quite concerned as well about how that night would go. And that was a real high, just, getting through. And I did virtually, apart from the blowjob joke, virtually all of my material that night. And it all kind of worked all in one go. And it's like, okay, well, this is all right because at that point, I'm 6 months away from Edinburgh. I've got half of my show. It's working. Right. I'll be all right. Yeah. and then since then, I've been like, oh yeah, but that other 15 minutes to write is not that easy.
Yeah. Quiet voice in the head. Quiet voice in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can see you at Edinburgh. at 7:30 downstairs in Moriartys, right?
That's right, yeah.
Great. Okay, well, where else can we find you online and stuff?
Okay, so Facebook is Mark Rowe Comedy, or A1 The Long Road to Edinburgh. Twitter at MarkRowe80, and Instagram Mr. Mark Rowe.
Great. Okay, cool, man. Well, I hope it goes well, man. I really look forward to seeing you in Edinburgh, because I'll be up there this year myself.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, right. Well,
enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming on the show, man. And that was episode 45 with the very funny, the very new, and the very likeable Mr. Mark Rowe. I hope you liked that one, guys. Go find him on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and he's doing a documentary called The Long Road to Edinburgh, which is sponsored by The Comedy Cow. He's taking all the stuff that he's learnt in the last year up to the Edinburgh Fringe, and that show is going to be downstairs in Moriartys at 7:30 at night. That is downstairs in Moriartys at 7:30 at night for the Edinburgh Fringe, the full run. So go see him there. See what he's done in the last year. Go check that out. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at The Comedy Defect. You can follow me at WinterPhonander. You can also come see my live stand-up gig dates on my website, which is winterphonander.com. And the details of my upcoming previews for my show will be on that website, which is being created by friend of the podcast, Danny Clives. I'm also looking through the Guinness Encyclopedia, taking out as many jokes as I can and putting them up on Twitter under the title, The Book Dad Read. Twitter handle for that is at Guinness Jokes. Now, this podcast, as I say, after the 50th episode, will be reduced down to once a month. And that will be the last Wednesday of each month I will be releasing a pod. Because I've got so much work at the moment, I can't commit. I've no minions, guys. If you know somewhere where I can get minions, amazing. But I don't have any minions at the moment. I'm recording them myself, I'm editing them myself, and it's just taking up an awful lot of time. So I'm going to have to reduce. I'm not going to stop, I'm just going to reduce. The next episode is episode 46. And there's a very funny man. He has got a background in digital marketing and journalism. And the guy knows how to write a show with a hook. It is the very funny and sometimes controversial Mr. J. Islam for episode 46. It's going to be a great episode, guys. So that's it for this episode of the Comedy Defect podcast. We'll see you next week for episode 46 with J. Islam.